All right, guys, it's your boy Puffinstein, aka Spank Dog, at YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe. You already know. Um, we're gonna be getting into what's going on with the meteorite that supposedly landed in Panama, and a young man by the name of Kin supposedly found it, and something started to emerge from the meteorite. And the thing that emerged reminds me of, if anybody's seen the movie with Ryan Reynolds called Life, they catch a meteor with a mechanical arm out in space and they reel it in and they get an organism. Now, the organism looks like it's not alive, even though it's a life form. They start to probe it, and at one point they shock it, and I think they also try to give it nutrients. I forget exactly what they do, but it comes to life, and then things go kind of haywire. I don't want to blow up the plot for people who are going to watch the movie in the future. I definitely recommend Life, with Ryan Reynolds, especially with what's going on with the meteorite. And they call the extraterrestrial in the movie Calvin. So we're going to be calling the extraterrestrial they allegedly came across in Panama from a meteorite. We're going to be calling him Calvin, in reference to the movie Life. So apparently Calvin has hit planet Earth. And like I said, I take all of this with a grain of salt. I ask people if it's trickery or if it's really aliens, because most people that are into this stuff know about Project Bluebeam and how they tell people do not believe that aliens are coming, that it is going to be a way for them to control us. Now, I would take that with a grain of salt also. Which one to believe, I do not know. This is why I present it to you guys. And please drop comments. Even if you see this after the live ends, drop a comment. I will respond. I am the kind of person that even when my audience grows to a larger scale, I will still be interacting heavily with all of my audience. To all my people, anybody that rolls up from my FB circle, much love. You already know. Big shout out to Grover Cleveland High School, Ridgewood, Bushwick, Bedford-Stuyvesant, all that, Brooklyn, Queens, NYC. Shout to the whole world, man. We got to stop with this separatism bullshit that it's a shame that we elected a person who promotes separatism, in my opinion. So, but before we get to that, we're going to be covering the Trae Young, Patrick Beverly beef also. And we're also going to be covering the fact that Prince Charles invited Donald Trump to Britain, and then he blindsided him with saying that Russia has to be stopped. So I'm going to share the page regarding the alien we'll be calling Calvin, and I'm going to play a little bit for you so you guys could get an idea of what's going on. All right, so let's get to it.
In the last few hours, Kin, the TikTok creator from Panama, whose discovery of a mysterious meteorite has captivated hundreds of thousands, has found himself at the center of a story that feels larger than life. What began as a viral curiosity, a rock from the sky leaking a strange black living substance, has escalated into something far more unsettling. Kin has now reportedly received a message from an anonymous but authoritative source instructing him to stop posting, hand over samples, and prepare for a debriefing. Most startling of all, the message connected his discovery to 3I Atlas, a known
It when it came out, the meteorite, it did not look like that. Like I said, it was the size of a pen cap. Now the thing is the size of a shoebox.
Interstellar object that entered our solar system. The implication is clear. The alien entity Kin is guarding is not just unusual, but linked to something cosmic. The message warned Kin that his discovery could not be allowed to fall into the wrong hands, as the entity might be weaponized. He was told to head to the United States Embassy, where arrangements would be made for him to be flown to America for.
Now, mind you, I don't know how real everything is. I still present it to you guys because it's been on multiple channels that have, they're trusted channels. But at the same time, like I said, I take things with a grain of salt. I always was the kind of person that didn't believe what I couldn't hear, smell, see, touch, or taste. But even more so in the times we live in with AI and satellites on the ground, and even there's things on the bottom that could connect with the things up top. So I'm gonna play more so y'all can watch.
For an official debriefing. It mentioned that his samples, as well as the names of scientists and exact locations, would be required. The directive also told him to stop making videos, but it was one line in particular that stood out.
Why would he stop making videos? You know what I mean? Like, the one thing that he's doing that's right is making videos. What it does is give the people an unadulterated view about what's going on.
The statement that the implications of his discovery were directly connected to the interstellar body currently entering the solar system. That body is none other than Atlas. Atlas is not a household name, but to astronomers, it is a significant object.
And then the crazy thing is that everybody thought that it was a meteorite that just came out of nowhere. But they're saying that it was something that launched from the, I don't even know what to call Atlas 3I anymore. They're saying it's a meteorite with life on it. They're saying it could be a craft. Some people wonder if it's still just a meteor and they blew it out of proportion. These guys ain't going to say that there's something up with it unless they're trying to rile us up or it's factual.
Now, if the entity Kin has discovered is indeed linked to Atlas, the implications are staggering. It suggests that his meteorite may not have been an ordinary chunk of rock, but a fragment or vessel associated with something far larger, a harbinger of interstellar phenomena. Some observers have suggested that Atlas might be more than a lone interstellar wanderer.
If you've seen life, you know why I'm calling it Calvin.
That it could be sending out smaller probes or scouts ahead of its passage through the solar system. In this view, the meteorite recovered in Panama and the strange black substance associated with it might not be an isolated fluke, but rather one of a number of advanced pieces dispatched to sample environments.
Drop a comment if you think it's real or if they're playing games.
Test conditions or seed locations with material. Proponents of the Scout hypothesis point to unusual behavior, the object's apparent fragmentation, the unexpected mobility and growth of the recovered matter, and the timing of the interstellar body's arrival. To them, these clues fit a scenario in which an intelligent system dispatches small, resilient packages to survey planets or deploy adaptive matter. If true, such scouts would be designed to survive the harsh stresses of interstellar travel and then to...
Yo, Blanco, what up? I just seen your comment, man. God bless you. Salute to you too, brother. Yeah. Thank you. I just seen the message. It's good to see you doing you. I always stay in touch. I always pass by the channel, smash likes, and drop a comment sometimes just to let you know that I'm there too. Much love to you and yours, man. I don't know if you heard about this or not, but they said they found something. The thing that they found looks like the alien from the movie Life with Ryan Reynolds that they were calling him Calvin. I don't want to blow up the movie for the people, but anyway, back to the video.
To interact with local environments in ways that reveal information back to their origin. Kin's story has already been surrounded by mystery and suspicion. Since his initial posts showing the black substance moving as if alive, He
You've always been solid too, my bro.
has claimed that officials have contacted him and attempted to pressure him
Look
into
at that.
relinquishing it.
Yo, look at that. That looks wild. What is that? What are those?
His decision to lock the entity in a reinforced safe and relocate it to avoid confiscation only heightened the tension. Now, with this message, the situation has taken on an entirely new dimension. If true, it means that his discovery may be part of a much bigger puzzle, one that stretches from Panama to the edges of the solar system. The idea that Atlas could be connected is not
Yeah, yo, Blanco, that's what keeps me on point, man. Project Bluebeam. Like I said, at one point, like all this stuff was coming so fast. I'm like, man, are aliens really coming? And it was like Project Bluebeam was a godsend. Even if, like, let's say they're playing games, it still woke me up to the fact, don't buy into anything you haven't touched or saw, or, your own senses haven't, felt it, sensed it. If they're talking about it, if it's in magazines, if it's on TV screens, I don't believe in anything. But the way they were portraying everything, matter of fact, they had the soldiers testify at Congress that they seen UFOs, but you don't know if there's a hidden agenda there. So, but yeah, definitely what you said is absolutely true. You said you heard about it. You said I'd be skeptical. We can't forget about Project Bluebeam. Yeah, man. Project Bluebeam kept me grounded instead of falling for it 100%. When Project Bluebeam said what they said, in my head, I said, yeah, Project Bluebeam's right. You shouldn't believe something quickly. And they were the ones that let me know that there could be a hidden agenda to making us believe that, aliens are on the way because they could exert control like they did with COVID. Now, I'm not saying we didn't need to be locked in our house for COVID. I'm saying we were locked in our house for COVID. I'm not saying that there wasn't a deadly disease out there, but then again, I don't know if they put things into motion neither.
not as far-fetched as it first seems. These interstellar objects travel immense distances and may carry with them materials or even unknown forms of life. Some researchers have speculated that such objects could be natural carriers of biological material across galaxies, a concept known as panspermia. Others have gone further, suggesting that unusual interstellar objects could be artificial in nature, probes or vessels sent deliberately. The message itself carries an urgent and almost desperate tone. It speaks of vigilance, secrecy, and the need to act quickly.
For people who don't know about Project Bluebeam, I'll just let you know real quick. Right now, ever since the soldiers came forward and with declassified information about UFOs, and they testified before a committee or whatever, they testified that they seen UFOs while they were flying their aircrafts. Ever since that happened, the floodgates have opened. All of a sudden, we started seeing things everywhere, orbs. There were drones that people couldn't tell if they were UFO drones or regular drones. And then there was giant ships and all sorts of stuff. Stuff that looked like the Northern Lights, auroras everywhere. And Project Bluebeam is the group that said, hey, be careful. They could create illusions that you're not aware of. And they're trying to sell you on the fact that aliens are on the way because they want to exert control. So, like I said, at this point, I'm still processing everything as a whole. But I do want to thank Project Bluebeam in the sense that they kept me open-minded.
The fact that Kin was explicitly told to stop making videos is particularly striking, as it suggests that the information he has been sharing publicly is considered dangerous.
If you've seen Life with Ryan Reynolds, you know exactly what I'm talking about. He's poking at him right there, just like in Life. They call him Calvin, but when, a certain part happens in the movie, they tell them, stop calling him Calvin already. He's not a person, like they start to get mad. If you watch the movie, you'll understand.
To stop making videos is particularly striking, as it suggests that the information he has been sharing publicly is considered dangerous. Millions of people have already seen his content, and speculation is running rampant. By asking him to go silent, whoever sent the message may be trying to control what the public knows before the narrative slips entirely out of their hands.
This is wild.
For Kin's followers, this development confirms their suspicions. A cover-up may already be underway. The warning to keep the entity out of the hands of those who might weaponize it suggests there are already competing interests circling.
I just noticed the comment. In the times we in, deep fakes, chat GPT, anything can be fake. Big facts. I agree with you, Frankie. William Cooper talked about Project Bluebeam. Life is top 3 on outer space exploration movies. Martian is second. Yeah, Life is a good movie, bro. That's a good movie. And what's crazy is, like, it wasn't hyped like it should have been. If they would have advertised that more, they would have made more money and it would be even more classic. It's not every day they come up with a solid alien movie, because you got to be careful with horror movies and science fiction movies. They're easily laughable. So if you don't put together a good production, people are gonna be like, this shit is trash. But Life is a good movie. All right, let's get back to this. Listen, we're gonna talk about the Trae Young and Patrick Beverly situation, and we're gonna talk about how Prince Charles lured Trump to Britain so he could let him know that Russia's the bad guy. Well, not Russia. I don't like doing that. That Putin is the bad guy. I can't stand when people call us those Americans because of the bull Trump is pulling right now. So I wouldn't do that to the Russian people neither. I know that the Russian people suffer because they have to endure a leader like Putin. So, my hearts go out to a lot of the Russian people, and my hearts go out to us Americans that have been labeled those Americans because of the way Trump is right now. The stuff he does is really, really lame.
His discovery. Some see Kin's situation as a replay of countless historical cases where strange phenomena were quickly absorbed by authorities and never spoken of again. This time, however, thanks to social media, the world has seen the entity with their own eyes. Kin's video.
Oh yeah, Prometheus is the bomb. I showed my brother that one. He loved it. You know what I'm saying? My brody, he's like that too. He's into like science fiction. When it's like, I think, was it a comic book? I don't even know. But yeah, Prometheus is like I spoke about with the well, a matter of fact, you can consider it. Yeah, it's an alien movie. Look, put it like this: Aliens 2 with Sigourney Weaver is the illest. Prometheus is right there. A matter of fact, that's a part of that series. Prometheus and Aliens 2 are linked. I find Aliens 2 better than Aliens 1 because they got the group, rest in peace Bill Paxton. They got the Spanish chick. You know what I'm saying? They got those guns. Those guns were ill in Aliens Part 2. And, it's just Alien and Aliens for people who don't know the series well. It's not like it's Aliens Part 1 and Aliens Part 2. The first one is Alien and, singular. And then the second one is Aliens. But yeah, there's a couple of good ones. I like War of the Worlds, the remake with Tom Cruise. There's a couple.
Those continue to show the dark substance within it and its unsettling growth patterns. The material has been described as moving with intent, stretching and branching as though it were exploring its environment. Some viewers insist that it is alive in a way that cannot be explained by chemistry alone. Others believe it to be a form of advanced material, possibly self-replicating technology. Whatever it is, its connection to an interstellar traveler makes it far more than a curiosity. The timing of this revelation has only...
Even though I keep an open mind with this, and I don't believe what I'm seeing in front of my face at 100%. I also don't cancel it out 100%. But I've been watching this. I've been watching the growth of Calvin since he landed, and he got way bigger. The little meteorite that's in Panama right now, what we're watching, he got way bigger, and it moves like it's a organism. It's wild. I haven't really seen it taking nutrients, so I'm wondering how it's growing.
Deepened the intrigue.
I don't know if this guy Kin, because the guy's name, I think the channel's called Kin Panama, Kin Panama, all one word. But I don't know if he's giving it any sort of nutrients. Everybody keep an open mind. Well, at least I keep an open mind. I'm not certain if this is real or not real.
The message linked Kin's find to Atlas precisely as it enters the inner solar system, raising questions about whether what fell in Panama was a piece of this object, a precursor, or even part of a larger event. Some speculate that the meteorite was intentionally deposited, a form of seeding or delivery, while others suggest it broke away naturally. Either way, the suggestion is the same. Humanity may now be interacting with material not just from another planet, but from another star system entirely. For Kin, the stakes could not be higher. He is a single individual thrust into a situation that seems beyond comprehension. His decision to continue sharing updates, even under pressure, has made him a symbol of transparency in the face of secrecy.
If this is real, man, he really handles him like he don't care. Like a dude like me would have gloves on, metal gloves at that. He's over here handling him like he knows he can't catch nothing from it. I would be more careful. He looks like he's loose with it. You know what I mean? But he's managed to handle whatever it is for thus far.
Yet, with warnings now tying his discovery to interstellar objects and hints of greater cosmic significance, the risks he faces are immense.
I don't understand how they don't examine the rock more. Like, a lot of focus has been what came out the rock, but what about the rock itself? That's something that supposedly flew millions of miles or thousands, hundreds of thousands of miles. Wherever Atlas 3I is right now, they're saying that traveled from Atlas 3I to here. Now, they said that it was close to Jupiter at one point. It had to travel hundreds of thousands of miles at least, right? That's a super rock. That's a space rock. Like, I would also pay attention to what the capsule it arrived in. It's just laying there like it's nothing big, I mean, it's not like he has anybody to present it to, neither.
Hundreds of thousands of people have now followed his account, turning his updates into a global spectacle. Some firmly believe that Kin has stumbled onto one of the most important discoveries in modern history, proof that extraterrestrial life has made its way to Earth. Others are convinced that the black goo is not organic at all, but a type of advanced material created by civilizations far beyond our technological understanding. Still, there remains a vocal group that insists the entire event is part of a cover-up.
If I'm giving something legs that like people should be ignoring, some people would say, you're giving it legs. If it wasn't for people like you showing it, people wouldn't get tricked into believing it. Listen, if you get fooled into something, that's on you. You should be able to be presented with something and not give it life just because you saw it. You should be able to inhale that information and make a proper decision, So, like, if you believed in it and it's fake, that's on you, It's my duty, at this point in time, if I see something like this, to let people know what's popping, because there's a chance they didn't even want you to see this in the first place. Or it could be part of their plan, like I said. But if you're not smart enough to keep an open mind and stay impartial until you know something factual, that's on you.
But the hazmat teams will eventually seize the meteorite and the alien entity, erasing all public trace of it. One of the most haunting details Kin shared is that, since moving the entity into its new container, he has noticed it producing faint vibrations. He described how when standing near the box, he could feel a low hum resonating through the floor. The sound was not loud enough to capture on his camera, but he said it was powerful enough to make the air around him feel charged, as though static electricity were building up. This detail, combined with the rapid growth and movement of the substance, has caused even more speculation that the alien material might possess energy-producing capabilities. Photographs and videos of the hazmat suits have only added to the intrigue. Some users claim to have tracked their vehicles to a restricted area on the outskirts of a Panamanian city.
Big shout to Unexplained Mysteries too. This is where the video source is from.
While others insist the individuals were seen talking to locals before quickly disappearing. To Kin, these sightings confirmed what he had feared, that there are people.
All right, guys, check this out. This is really, really cool. We're on a hard
Actively searching for him and the entity. He revealed that he has since moved the container once again, keeping its location secret even from those closest to him. As the days go by, the sense of urgency in his videos has grown. Kin has admitted that he feels the pressure building, not just from the entity itself, but from the unseen forces he believes are closing in. Despite this, he remains committed to sharing updates with the public, saying that the world deserves to see what is happening before it is hidden away. His videos are now filled with comments from viewers urging him to stay safe and to never stop recording, no matter how dangerous the situation becomes.
I agree with that. If he's really going through what he's showcasing, then yeah, don't stop recording. Be very careful. You know, they said that they wanted him to book a flight to go bring it to the U.S. Embassy. You don't know who's on the other end of that phone, first of all. So, you know.
The global fascination with Kin's story lies in the sheer strangeness of it all. He is not simply telling a story. He is showing raw footage of the black entity, of its growth, its movements, and now the increasing presence of outsiders. Every clip is dissected by online.
I just seen the comment too. You're right. We got to do our due diligence. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, like the guy from The Family says, you know, I don't give you at the angle. I just give you the story. You know, that's the truth.
Online communities, searching for clues, analyzing shadows, sounds, and shapes in an attempt to piece together what is happening. For many, this is the closest they have ever come to witnessing a real-time encounter with something beyond our world. What makes the situation all the more compelling is the uncertainty of what will happen next. With the entity continuing to grow inside its container, and with hazmat teams reportedly on the ground, it feels like a race against time. Kin's followers fear that it is only a matter of death.
It reminds me of the movie The Blob, because the blob comes from outer space, and it keeps growing as it eats things. So like, how big could this thing get? You know, what if you gave it like some vegetation or something, or even, you know, a chicken or something? You know what I mean? Will he grow to the size of a building? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is wild. That's why I take it with a grain of salt, because it's unbelievable, you know. But, you know, sometimes unbelievable things you find out are something that should have been believed.
Days before the discovery is taken from him and the truth buried forever. Others hold out hope that he will be able to outmaneuver those seeking to silence him, preserving the evidence long enough for the world to understand its importance. Kin's followers have watched his updates with a mixture of awe and mounting dread, and a clear consensus has emerged among many. A cover-up is expected to unfold within days. The logic is simple and persuasive to those paying close attention. An object falls from the sky. It leaks a black, mobile substance that grows and responds to stimuli. Cameras capture it. Hazmat-suited teams are photographed arriving. The sequence, to devoted watchers, reads like a rehearsal for removal and suppression. For Kin's audience, the arrival of hazmat personnel was the clearest turning point. Before that moment, the story had the shape of a backyard oddity, a viral curiosity, Once the images of protective suits circulated, the narrative shifted towards state interest and institutional control.
There was another media called a Muamua that they were saying was just like 3-Eye Atlas, you know, but all of a sudden, and they said there's only been 3 of them in the history of them recording outer space. It's a Muamua, 3-Eye Atlas, and another one. And the crazy thing is that they all appeared in the matter of 2 decades. All the time before like 2000. The first one appeared after 2000, I believe. But that means every space recording before this never seen any meteors that were suspect like this.
Plans point to historical precedents where unusual materials, technologies, or phenomena were quietly collected by authorities and then disappeared from public view. Those cases, real or rumored, feed the expectation that the same pattern will repeat here: containment, transport, and an official silence that quickly hardens into forgetfulness. Online, the reaction blends fear and strategy. Some insist Kin should scatter copies of his footage widely.
Greg, we need to talk.
No time, got sales calls to summarize.
You really need to switch to Monday CRM. It has
so that the truth cannot be erased. Others urge him to share physical samples with independent labs or trusted academics. A vocal minority prepares for confrontation, planning to live stream any attempted seizure so the world can witness it in real time.
It's like a movie. There's like a movie, you know, because I remember watching movies and saying, man, should he try to hold it because he can't manage it? And should he turn it over? Or if he turns it over, will they do something dastardly with it?
The underlying assumption in every plan is the same. If institutions try to take the object, the only defense is transparency and public attention.
Transparency.
That belief, more than anything, explains why Kin's posts now attract tens of thousands of simultaneous viewers, people who hope their presence will act as a protective force multiplier. Rumors about who wants the substance and why proliferate in tandem with practical proposals. Some followers say national security agencies will argue
that part looks crazy.
The object is hazardous and must be taken for public safety. Others frame the intervention as corporate, laboratories and private contractors eager for a lucrative contract to study and weaponize whatever the goo might be. Still others describe a more dramatic scenario in which secretive groups seek to control a material that could rewrite biology or material science.
My man used the tape that you could take off easily for an alien.
In fan chat rooms, the theory that an orchestrated removal is imminent is shared as both warning and call to action. That expectation of an impending seizure has altered the tenor of Kin's own updates. He writes and films with a new urgency, aware that every clip could be the last uncontrolled piece of evidence released to the public. He speaks cautiously about locations and timings, revealing only enough to keep viewers engaged while protecting his movements. His audience, in turn, treats each new upload like a relay baton. It must be downloaded, shared, mirrored, and archived immediately. The internet has become a decentralized preservation device, a digital ark intended to safeguard the footage against the possibility of an ordered retrieval.
Yeah.
This atmosphere of anticipation has real-world consequences. Some local observers have reported seeing unfamiliar vehicles and people asking questions, which fuels confirmation bias among followers who already expect intervention. The more that strangers are noticed around Kin's area, the more convinced his supporters become that removal is near. Social media amplifies each anecdote, and the rumor mill transforms small incidents into headlines within hours.
All right, so that's the end of that. Let's definitely hit the thumbs up. You know, that's why we're going to get into the Trae Young story with Patrick Beverley and Donald Trump heading to Britain. But that whole alien landing in a meteorite thing is crazy. I'm on the fence. Drop comments. Let me know what you think. If you think it's real, if you think it's fake. You know, that's really what it comes down to. You know. All right. So we're gonna get into the other thing. Yeah, so Trae Young and Patrick Beverley are into it right now. You know, Trae Young is he's cool in my book. I don't know any of these people personally, but when you see people on camera, they can't control themselves. So like people that are bozos, sometimes even if they're on camera and they know that they shouldn't be acting like a bozo on camera, they still act like a bozo on camera. So the fact of the matter is, when I see Trae Young while the cameras are on him, he has at least enough sense to be cool. Patrick Beverly just be wild, and like I'm saying, like I don't mean wild good, I mean wild bad. Like, he's always saying something that comes off like if he's hating and he can't help him. So, I don't know him personally though. For he got a lot of love in him. He just comes off abrasive, but like I said though, if you told me who, in the argument, like I'm feeling like on what they're saying, it would be Trae Young for sure. And I'm not biased, but the fact of the matter is he's 100 times better than Patrick Beverly. So let's get to the Trae Young Patrick Beverly thing. We'll save the Trump for last. All right, guys. I'm gonna share the screen right now. All right, guys. Yeah, so Patrick Beverly, I kind of already gave y'all the beginning, or at least put you up on what it's about, and I'm gonna just hit play.
Okay, so we got to talk about Pat Bev and Trae Young getting into it live, man. They have both addressed each other live, and I would like to highlight their videos and break everything down, man, because Kevin Durant even chimed in on it, checking Pat Beverly, man. So I guess it's looking like Pat Bev maybe crossed some lines since Kevin Durant had to come in and try to check Pat Bev. So let's break this thing down, man, and let's get started in today's video.
Pat Bev is wild. I don't like to talk about how people look, but he gotta fix his hair though. When he had the braids, he was looking cool, but I don't know what he did right there. It looked like he cut his own hair. So, but anyway, left it long. But anyway, I don't want to be like that. Trae Young has a reason to do what he did. Some people would say he should have minded his business. I guess when Patrick Beverly posted the comment about, well, he said all stars don't appreciate, what they've been given. And I don't believe that's true. I think some of them are more spoiled. They get them high contracts. They lose their mind. That's a fact, But Patrick Beverly gets a hefty paycheck too, and he's not humbled. He's always talking about something. Trae Young, you don't see him acting up like Patrick Beverly, but I don't have no ill will towards either of them. You know what I'm saying? So, but we're gonna see exactly what happened. They're gonna break it down right now.
Video, hit that thumbs up button, man. It really does help support these videos get pushed out to the algorithm. I really do appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, let me smash the like. Big shout out to Self Talk. Yeah, that's a good channel right there. I watch Self Talk a lot.
So let's get into these clips, man. So this post right here had went viral. Was saying like, yo, how come these basketball players play all extra hard in the gym when they playing against regular people, but they get paid millions to play in the All-Star game and they act like that they don't want to hoop, right? So
I want to stop it right there though. In the All-Star game, not only do they not want to get hurt, so because if you get hurt in the All-Star game, you're not going to be able to compete for the ring. Now, second of all, they still supposed to play hard. They get paid and there's fans paying money to see. But the All-Star game has always been when the guy takes the lane, if he gets by you, you just let him get it so he can get the dunk off too. People look at it more as like, we want to see more alley-oops, more three-pointers get knocked down, so they'll leave them open a little. They'll still play, but a little bit of a lax defense will probably let the fans see more highlights, but I believe that the best game is a competitive game. So, I definitely would like to see them go hard. I think it's more so of they're scared they're gonna get hurt, and then you got hurt for something that, when they talk about their legacy, the All-Star game is not important to them. So, it's important to get selected, but like, the game itself, they look at it like something that's fun, not something that they kill themselves, work their whole lives, have exercise regimens that are insane, 2-a-days, 3-a-days, and I think that they don't understand how much the fans want to see that All-Star game get played competitively. And I'm with the fans too. I wouldn't mind. It's hard to say. Both have a point. I could understand them wanting not to be able to chase that ring because they played in the All-Star game, but then don't sign up for it. You know what I'm saying? And also, I could understand the fans saying, yo, I paid a lot of money. Could we see y'all play for real a little bit? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, competitive basketball is the best basketball. If you imagine those kind of players all on the same team playing against another set of players which is the same caliber, pretty much, and they're superstars. Imagine if they played a really competitive game. You would probably see highlights you've never seen before in a live game.
Pat Bev answered the question, and when he had answered it online, I guess Trae Young responded to Pat Bev's comments, and that's the reason why Pat Bev went to his podcast to call out Trae Young. So let me highlight that clip, guys, and I'll be right back with some more commentary. Here's the video.
Hoop Herald goes, honest question. Why do NBA players play so hard in random open gyms in the summer but give no effort in the All-Star game with millions watching? My response is because All-Stars take the game for granted. It's not one All-Star on a basketball court. It's just
this is the catalyst.
Good naturally, good bump. Trae Young response was,
he said, relax, let us speak for ourselves. Interesting.
I don't know. I don't think he's in a position to speak. I don't think he's won enough to even speak to me like that or tweet me like that. He's been to the playoffs 3 times. I've been to the playoffs 9.
9 is more than 3.
He's been in the NBA 7 years. My first 7 years, I didn't miss the playoffs at all.
Interesting.
In the Western Conference.
Interesting.
Right? His rebuttal was probably...
I remember when Trevor Noah, he has a comedy concert called to America, Back to America, From Africa to America. I think it was one of his first comedy specials. But Trevor Noah talks about how Americans are obsessed with numbers. And he's like, he got 3 dunks and 7 shots and 15 points per game. And it's a little true what he said. Let me rewind it a little.
Conference.
Interesting.
Right? His rebuttal is probably going to be, yeah, you want the main player on the team. You're absolutely right. But this is why it's a team. I've talked to people who played in Atlanta. They don't want to play there.
Why?
They don't think he's a good leader. They don't think he's a good teammate. This is not coming from me. This is coming from over here. Trae, you can score all the points you want. You can make all the money you want. You can have all the leading assists you want. You can do all that. If you don't win.
Trae Young averaged 24 points and 12 assists last year with a decent amount of rebounds for a guy who's 6'1", maybe 6'2", but that's short. And he is short, real short, and he's averaging numbers. Let me tell you something. I took note of how Trae Young did last year, right? This was because I watch basketball like that. I pay attention to basketball like that. Trae Young was shooting below 40%, like 32% at the start of last year. He wasn't even in the top 50 in rating. I told my lady, I said, watch by the end of the year how it changes. And literally later on, months later, I'm like, look, he got his field goal percentage above 400 at 41%, but he shoots a ton of 3-pointers. And he brought it up from like 30-something%. Now, to do that in 40 games, that means you got to go on a tear. He went from, and this is factual, he wasn't in the top 50 in rating. You know, he was in like he was like in the 60s or the 70s, or let's say even the like 55, but he was still out the top 50, right? Trae Young ended up finishing, he was ranked 13th in the world. All right. Now think about that though. Trae Young was ranked 13th in the world after not even being in the top 60 or the top 50 for the first like 30 games of the season, like 20 games of the season. Then went on a tear to the point where he pushed up like 40 slots and finished the season 13th in the world, 76 games played, 24.2 points per game, 11.6 assists, just like I said before too. He was ranked higher than Anthony Edwards. All right, he was ranked higher than Damian Lillard, because Damian Lillard didn't get hurt to the end of the season. You're talking about a 6-foot player who's doing better, who has a better rating all around. This is overall, everything you do, all stats considered. He had a rating higher than, first of all, he was tied with Kevin Durant. He was ahead of Anthony Edwards, Damian Lillard, James Harden, Jalen Brunson, Devin Booker, Paolo Banchero, Stephen Curry, Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving. Well, Joel Embiid was hurt last year. Kyrie Irving. You know, big shout out to Tyler Herro, who finished 26, ranked 26 in the world last year. You know, he was rated 26 in the world. Tyler Herro is somebody you should look out for. Finished the season last year with 24 points, 5.5 assists, and 5.2 rebounds per game. And he has a very low turnover ratio. He only turned the ball over about 2.6 times per game. But back to the ranch, he did better than Herro, De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Franz Wagner, John Morant, Donovan Mitchell. Do you get it? And Patrick Beverley got mad because he's telling people like Trae he don't appreciate that he gets to the All-Star game. That's not true. The first year that Trae Young was snubbed, or you know, it was debatable whether he was snubbed because he was ranked second in the world not too long ago, right next to Luka Doncic, and they both came out in the same year. But he's 6 inches shorter, 7 inches shorter than Luka Doncic.
Man, that's matter. If you don't win when you're retired, they're gonna forget your name fast too. So I don't even think he has the wiggle room to talk about not playing hard for an All-Star game. You're not like you're playing in the playoffs.
So what do you think his point is?
I don't know. I
He's
think
just trying to put himself above you.
I think so. Like, let us speak. Like, we mean, okay, well, let the play in the playoffs more than 9 years speak to them before you speak. He played with Tommy Pat, man. Atlanta Hawks called the Trae Hawks.
Interesting.
And then the first word he used is relax. And I'm like, relax, you should be uncomfortable. You should be more uncomfortable. Why? That's the problem. You're too much relaxed. 7 years, you made the playoffs 3 times. You're too relaxed. Get uncomfortable. Really get uncomfortable and lead your team to some more wins and playoff push. The game is better. The game needs that from you. Trust me. It's kids up here that look up to you. Talking about relax. You get uncomfortable. I challenge you to do that. Don't put yourself up here, right? Because you score a lot of points and a lot of assists, but you lose.
Well, it seems like he's just trying to take it as a chance to take a shot that you haven't been in an All-Star game.
Obviously, but I've been on teams who won 50 games. I don't know what missing the playoff feels like. I have to tell my family every year, your daddy be home in June. I don't know what April and early May in Atlanta feels like. I don't. Knee deep in the trenches.
I mean, I think the obvious answer to the actual question is that
I had to change my audio avatar because we're about to get political.
people are trying to get better in the summertime, and nobody's trying to get better during the All-Star game. They're trying.
That's my politician face. I put the political filter and took a picture. That's what came out.
kind of like, just get some a fancy layup.
Okay, well, if that's the case, go get MVP every.
I guess this guy is his co-host, but I don't know, homie. You know what I'm saying? If Pat Bev offered me a job to work with him on a podcast, I would say hell yeah. I don't dislike Patrick Beverly to a high degree or nothing like that. I just, when I see him on camera, he's always doing something extra. But he could be a really good person. That's a fact.
Year and All-Star game. Then I want to you relax. Motherfucker, you know what? Don't relax. You get uncomfortable. That you're too relaxed. You're too much cool. Stop being so cool.
Okay, so that's what Pat Bev said, calling out Trae Young, right? And this is where Kevin Durant.
I just don't know. Sometimes he be, as you seen, he be a little extra.
Comes in that because he left a comment on that video. And
that's his right to be extra, though. That shit don't bother me.
This is what Kevin Durant said, trying to check Pat Bev on his words, man. So KD said, hey, this shit getting out of hand, man. Come on, Pat. You sound delusional, brother.
Delusional.
So Pat Bev haven't responded to Kevin Durant yet, but the person who did respond to the video, because it's going viral, got over like 4 million views on Twitter right now, man. Trae Young responded, and this is what Trae Young had to say, addressing what Pat Bev said about him live. Let's check out this clip right here.
You said it. You went to the playoffs 9 times. I've only been to the playoffs 3. You're right. You have 6 more playoff appearances than me. Let's bring up some more facts. You've been to 1 conference finals. I've been to 1 conference finals. What year was that for you? Just another fact, year 9. The year I made it was year 3. Just a fact. You want to know another one? You averaged 7 points and 2 is. I don't even know how I'm doing this. Like I'm really not even here to talk about my numbers, but here they are. Let's get into some more facts. Actually, you talk about a winner. What have you won?
So I don't want to talk about my numbers, but here they are. I already told them, Trae. Don't worry about it. Yo, yeah, in the finals, man, over 4 games, he averaged 28 points per game. I want to see that field goal percentage again. Oh, they didn't show it. I wonder why. No, I'm just playing. It could have been good.
Let's get into some more facts, actually. You talk about a winner. What have you won? Tell me, what have you won? And don't respond with that, like, sympathy. I won in life. I won in basketball, because you did, man. You made it to the NBA. There's very few many people that can say that. But at the
Oh, yeah, don't get it twisted. Pat Bev, if you've seen him in real life and try to play him in ball, it's going to be bad. NBA players are amazing. His skill level doesn't shine through in the league because they use him for specific things to get to the ring.
same time, bro, it's levels to this shit. It's just different timetables. I get it. You're a little bit later into your career. I was 19, about to be 20, going into my rookie season. Do you want to know your age going into your rookie season? You were 24, your first year in the NBA. So you're talking about uncomfortable. Man, you don't know what uncomfortable is. You talk about winning and impact winning and all these things. You've been on some teams with some big-time players. How about I go through a list of these guys? LeBron, Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Ant-Man, Cat. We're not even going to talk about how we celebrate play-in wins. I win play-in games on the road, and I'm ready to get to the playoffs. You win play-in games at home, and you standing on the scores table acting like it's a championship. We celebrate wins different, too. But let me get...
Trae Young is the greatest little man in the league right now, along with Kyrie Irving, Stephen Curry, but they're younger. They're older. So, but really, to be honest with you, the only guys that are Trae Young's height that could compete with him, I'll tell you right now, there ain't too many. The top 10 players in the world are all tall. They're all like 6'5" and higher, 6'6" even. The top 10 players in the world are Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shea, in this order too, in best to worst. Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Davis, Cade Cunningham, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Karl Anthony Towns. They're all 6'6" and taller. Maybe one is 6'5", like Shea or Cade, and I don't think so. I think they're taller. They're everybody there is 6'7" or taller, literally. You know, and then number 11 is DeMontis Sabonis. 12 is Kevin Durant, and then the first short man you see that played a full season is Trae Young. He is the best rated, like by rating, this facts. You know, he did the best last year as let's say what we would call a short guy in the NBA. Yeah, and next to him is Damian Lillard. That goes to show you how good Trae Young is. Talking about Dame Dollar, you know what I'm saying? So, but Jalen Brunson shows up after Damian Lillard, and Jalen Brunson is just big shout out to Jalen Brunson. When I see big shout out, you notice it's a guy like Tyler Herro, a guy like Jalen Brunson, because it's not no diss to anybody else. It's just that Jalen Brunson and Tyler Herro are guys that they were real underdogs. You know what I'm saying? They picked Tyler Herro 13th in the draft, I believe, and they picked Brunson like 30th or 33rd, if I got it right. You know, and they had to show and prove, and they sure did. You know. So, yeah. Who's the next short guy after them? Stephen Curry all the way at number 23. But you get my point. Trae Young is that dude. 24 and 12 last year, while Patrick Beverly probably put up like 5 points a game.
Back to these guys. You've had some great teammates over these years that you've only been able to make the conference finals with because your impact was that strong. One time, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Sweet Lemon Pepper Lou, and Dwight Howard. I can go on and on. Them is just
That's another thing. Trae Young never had any help. You know, like literally DeJounte Murray, he had him for a second, but they weren't gelling, you know, and so he had one star besides himself, and the chemistry wasn't there. So that's bad, you know. You're one superstar and it just wasn't working. He played better with John Collins. Yo, another big shout out to John Collins, man. Like, I hope he's healthy this year. Something happened where he ain't played like he, you know, he wasn't playing like he could have last year, and I forgot what it was. But hopefully John Collins comes back healthy. Maybe it was a trade. But yeah, you know, let's get back to it.
the Hall of Famers.
So that's what Trae Young said, man, in response to Pat Bev calling him out. Now, I wonder if Pat Bev is going to address Kevin Durant and Trae Young in his next pod.
You know, that's pretty much it, man. I'm going to stop it early. Big shout out to Self Talk. I smashed the like already. And let's get to the next topic. I know people got things to do, places to go, people to see. All right, so this is the last one. This is the biggest one. Save the best for last, right? All right, so, but I couldn't believe this one. Last night,
if you've ever felt embarrassed not knowing how
you know, this is why I'm live too, because I like to bring you guys edited videos, because I'm really good at editing now, you know, but I can't edit everything fast. So sometimes I want to talk to y'all about stuff that just happened. I can't watch breaking news like when they brought Trump to the Royal Palace and put him on blast. You know, and they didn't even like blindside him like that. They just spoke the truth in front of him, like a lot of people are scared to do, you know. But I seen it, and if I would have like did my commentary, waited to download it, edited it, you know, it could have been 2 or 3 days before I got it to you. It's old news by then. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go live today. I don't know if I'll go live a ton in the future, but I wanted to talk about this in the now, not 3 days after it happened.
talk about money, this ad might change your life. Hi, I'm
threat 3%.
All right. All right, guys, so let's get to it. Yesterday, Prince Charles had invited Trump to England, and when he got to England, they showed that they had a good time. He went to Windsor Palace. I don't know a ton about the British estate, but he went to Windsor Palace, I believe, or Windsor Hall, and they went to an outing of some sort. He was in the Golden Chariot, they said. Then they had dinner, and it's a big giant dinner table, and he sits down with King Charles, and everybody else at the table, and he stands up and he says, "We got to stand up against Russia." And the look on Donald Trump's face when he did this was insane. So right now I'm gonna play it so you guys can find, if you don't know what took place, hopefully now you will.
That was Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum at the Mexico Independence Day celebration. Now, furious world leaders, like you saw there with Claudia Sheinbaum, strongly asserting their sovereignty, their strength, their power against a very weak and sickly Donald Trump.
Big shout out to Ben Meisalis and the people at the Midas Touch Network. And big shout out to the Young Turks. Big shout out to Saint and Anna. Big shout out to Adam Mockler, to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Bernie Sanders, and other people that are involved with the Midas Touch Network. Big shout to Rick Strom, Dr. Rashad Ritchie, and all the people that are speaking up. I didn't even get to cover the Jimmy Kimmel was fired thing, but hopefully I'll start to go live a little more, and maybe I'll go live later on or tomorrow and talk about the Jimmy Kimmel. The firing of Jimmy Kimmel is a travesty. Our freedom of speech is in danger at the moment. I'm hoping that once a new president steps in, everything will go back to normal. Like I said, I don't know what's in the future right now, but Jimmy Kimmel being fired over saying, listen, people, as sad as it is that a man his life was taken like that, like Charlie Kirk, at the where he was speaking at that day. Charlie Kirk said very horrible things while he was alive. And you're speaking and you're hearing somebody who doesn't like to talk ill of the dead. A lot of people, they don't care about that. Like if people told people, "Oh, hey, why are you speaking ill of the dead, even though you didn't like them?" They would be like, who cares or whatever. Like, you crazy? I have a right to say what I feel because he said such foul shit when he was alive that, people don't care. But I care because I know that sometimes your passion, your frustration might make you say something and you're like, in hindsight, you feel like you shouldn't have said it. But, Charlie Kirk, for the things he said about kids not eating, even if their parents are messed up, the list goes on. The things he said about black folks, I'm not gonna go into the laundry list, and I'll stop it right there. You get the point, but I can't cover everything. I'm gonna get off after we cover this, and hopefully I'll get to the Jimmy Kimmel thing later. Rehire Jimmy Kimmel, that would be the right thing to do.
And pathetic Trump regime I want to show you now how furious King Charles III lured Donald Trump in for a trap as part of Donald Trump's visit to the United Kingdom. Now, King Charles knows how Donald Trump is so pathetically wanting to be a king and how he is in awe of the pomp and circumstance of the royal family. So here's what King Charles did as well. And then I want to talk about Mexico and Canada having a huge meeting tomorrow. I want to talk about Zelensky. I want to talk more about Europe. I want to talk about a poll, by the way, that shows that many countries now view the United States as the biggest threat to them. And I'm talking about like United States former allies or allies.
How this is what I'm talking about. It can't be where we used to be the place everybody wanted to come to. You know, they looked at us like, not only are we not no threat, we're the people that would help. What happened? You know, don't think that because the person who got the chair as the president, he represents what Americans are. You know, I know a lot of Americans hear it too. I can't stand being called that American, those Americans, because of mistakes a person I didn't even vote for made. You know, like I said, I represent myself. You know, Trump don't represent me. So if he makes a mistake and you're mad at his mistake, don't call me that American, please. You know that there's beautiful Americans everywhere. You know, the good outweighs the evil by far. Trust me.
Thinking that. But first, watch this brilliant trap by King Charles. So he brings Trump over, the pomp and circumstance. He's got the flyover, Windsor Castle, the golden carriage. By the way, Donald Trump's hand was literally rotting while it was there. It looked worse than ever. I've described it as looking like Donald Trump has put his hand into a piranha.
I wish Ben would skip the part about getting on how gross Donald Trump's hands are, because everybody has conditions. You know what I'm saying? He'd probably be better off leaving that out, because, there's probably people out there catching feelings over the fact that they got a skin condition and they're a good person. Me personally, it don't bother me, but it's just something I noticed.
On a tank. But after luring Donald Trump in and making Trump dress up in, the white suit and all that white tie suit, here's what King Charles did. Boom. In his speech, he looks at Donald Trump. He talks about World War I and World War II and the US and the UK's historic relationship there. And then in front of the world, King Charles brings up Ukraine and says, this is why we're uniting, to defeat Russia, to defeat the forces of tyranny.
I mean, when I heard him say that, and I found out, like, in my head, it clicked that really took place. I can't say how happy I was that he finally was told the truth by a person with the power of King Charles.
As you have Donald Trump kind of sitting there, like, look at his face. Zoom in on Trump's face right here if you can with the stuff. And then King Charles is like, and here is why we defend Ukraine. That's what this whole setup was for. Watch it go down in real time. Here, play this clip.
Our countries have the closest defense, security, and intelligence relationship.
I don't know if he's got a clean slate. Like, I'm not too much well-versed in, like, the history of Britain government, but he crushed it right now.
Should ever know. In 2 world wars, we fought together to defeat the forces of tyranny. Today, as tyranny once again threatens Europe,
he sat him right next to him. Look, I paused it at the perfect moment. Look at how I caught it. I caught him looking up at King Charles like, are you really doing this right now? He couldn't believe it. Yo, listen, man, salute to King Charles, man. I'm hoping you don't got a tainted background, because right now I'm looking at you like you are the man, because this was a long time coming.
our allies stand together in support of Ukraine to deter aggression and secure peace.
All right, now back to Mexico for a moment. So today you have Prime Minister Carney of Canada meeting with President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico. They are signing a strategic partnership, and they are going to unite their positions as well ahead of the CUSMA review, the Canada, United States, Mexico agreement review. Remember, there was NAFTA in the 90s. Then Trump slightly changed it during his first regime and called it USMCA or CUSMA. It's very much like NAFTA, but with a few additions. And then Donald Trump, when he came in power, his regime this time basically ripped CUSMA to shreds, although he paused the tariffs on CUSMA-related items. But it was always believed that Donald Trump was going to attack his own deal, rip his own deal because Trump breaches contracts, and screw over Canada and Mexico as he has done. So we have.
All right, guys. So pretty much that was what I really wanted to handle. I wanted you guys to see Trump be told the truth when it needed to be told the most. You know, like I said, I'm not well versed in whether Prince Charles has a tainted background or anything like that. Hopefully he's clean cut. You know, he has a good reputation because what he did, America needed so badly. You know, it's your boy Spank Dog, man. Much love, real love to all my people out there, just people in general, man. You know, it's never too late to change, man. If you acting up, chill out, man. It's your boy Spank. One.